This is Dr. Anthony P. Stein again with the Practical Carnivore channel. Thanks for coming back and checking out another video. I'm going to tell you why I'm not keto anymore. I know it was a provocative video title there, but I mean, here's my keto to carnivore journey. First, I'm in my early 40s. I've struggled with my weight my whole life. I can tell you that I've done every diet under the sun pretty much. I mean, I haven't done the margarita diet. I haven't done the South Beach diet, but um, back when I was a kid, my stepfather, who is from Southeast Asia, he gave us every day growing up lots and lots and lots of rice. And he had left his home country back when it was going through food problems. And so I think some of that played into it because he came to America where there's lots of food and he was making our plates for us. And he was making my plate for me up until I was 18 years old. It was weird. And he just insisted. And so I was getting far more than I needed. And it was a lot of simple carbs and that kind of thing. So after that, I did every diet under the sun and, strict calorie restriction. I remember once I lost less weight than I've lost now, but I was lower weight than I am now. And I was starting to look skeletal because I was losing muscle and fat, right? So let's fast forward a time to 2017. I moved from the West Coast to where I live now in central Oklahoma. And I was probably at my best shape of my life at that time. Not as strong as I am now physically. I spent a lot of time in the gym, hitting the weights and that kind of thing. But I was pretty good shape. And I was engaged to my now wife at the time, and I moved to where I am now in March of that year, and we were going to get married in August. And between March and August of that year, I put on 30 pounds from, moving to a new part of the country, meeting new people, seeing all kinds of fast food that I'd only ever heard about, never had access to, and finding myself from, West Coast sort of food taste to the land of barbecue, which the time tasted amazing to me, but I've since learned how to make better myself. Not bragging or anything. It's just once you learn how to smoke your own meats, restaurant stuff doesn't taste as good. And I gained a bunch of weight. And so we got married, and then I gained more weight, and I ended up losing a job not long thereafter. And then I started gaining even more weight. And it culminated in 2020. I was trying to get back on keto because I'd done keto to lose all that weight initially before 2017. And I tried getting back onto keto, and for whatever reason, I just couldn't. 2020 arrives, and I start in January 2020. And I've lost 25, 30 pounds by mid-March. Remember what happened in mid-March of 2020? Yeah, a big sort of thing happening around the world that you may have heard about. And my gym closed, as did everybody else's. And at the time, we didn't know what that thing would do if you were low carb. We didn't know. And in hindsight, I feel stupid because I had lost a bunch of weight and I stopped doing keto. And guess what happened? All of a sudden, I was stuck at home and I didn't have a real decent way to exercise. And I was eating a healthy version of the standard American diet. And guess what happened? I gained a lot of weight back. It came back and then some. My gym reopens in May, and I get back into the gym and I'm trying to lose weight. And then July 2nd, 2020, there's a storm in my town, and I slip on some wet concrete in front of my house, and I tweaked my knee and ended up wrenching the crap out of my calf. The doctors didn't know what was really wrong. They just assured me it wasn't a knee injury, which was, in hindsight, a very good thing because, later on, after it was all healed, I was able to get back to, doing leg work at the gym. But I could barely walk. I was on crutches for a couple of weeks, and I gained weight, and I gained weight, and I gained weight, and I gained weight. And man, by October, I remember in October, I was 25 pounds over where I was before I started trying to lose the weight in January. And I was going to the gym maybe twice a month because I could barely walk. Then came December, and I was approaching a scary weight. It was scary. Like, it was a weight that I always told myself I would never allow myself to get to. I was getting close to it. And so on Christmas Day, I got on the scale, see the weight, and I already knew I was going to start back on keto the day after Christmas, but I saw the number that day. I finished, eggnog and whatever was in the house that I was gonna, not ever have again. And the next day, I started on a ketogenic diet, and it was a pretty standard keto diet, nothing special, not particularly clean or anything. But 2 days later, I find the work of Thomas DeLauer on YouTube, and say what you want about the guy and about like how some of the things he advocates for. But he drilled into my head the whole foods approach that I think everybody should at least be okay with. The idea that you should eat real food, a novel concept, right? And so his influence steered me away from garbage food products to better, cleaner keto products. And so from December 26th until mid-October or so of 2020, I lost 100 pounds. And then I stalled out. And I needed to lose a lot more than 100 pounds. And so by then I'd found like a lot of the carnivore videos, a lot of the carnivore channels, and I was getting very curious about it. In fact, curious to the point where I started scaling back my carbs anyway. And truth be told, when I was doing keto, I had to force myself to eat the vegetables. I just did. It was one of those things where if they were there were days where I would have like 10 net carbs over the course of the day because I would eat meat and maybe a little bit of cheese and nuts, and I'd have to force myself to go eat the broccoli or the kale or the whatever. But and so like it's almost like I was already geared towards carnivore, except I love nuts and I can't eat them. But, carnivore. I'm very strict carnivore now, but at the time, I love nuts, but nuts are a landmine and for doing keto because you can just overeat so easily with them. You can get so much extra fat calories that it's ridiculous. And I always noticed, a lot of people tell you, oh, any diet you do, you don't actually need to count calories. Well, that's not actually true. I know this from experience because when I did keto, if I went much over my calories, I didn't lose weight. I didn't burn off the fat at all. At best, I might pack a little muscle on, which then kept my resting metabolic rate was higher that way. So it took more energy to maintain the muscle. I wasn't burning body fat, not noticeably. So that was bad. Now let's factor in the other reason, keto treats. When I first tried keto several years ago, there were virtually no keto treats. The sugar-free candies are the things that you knew if you bought them, you were going to spend half your day in the bathroom, right? So you didn't eat them. But in the last few years, keto's become like $1 billion industry. So you get all these wonderful candies, keto cups and keto desserts, keto ice cream, keto breakfast cereal, all sorts of just kind of nasty garbage when you look at most of what their products are. Yes, some of the keto treats are, if you just care about whole foods, are pretty awesome in terms of their quality. Not that I advocate for you to eat them on carnivore. Obviously, don't do that. But, if you have a problem with sugar addiction, pounding diet soda and eating keto candy isn't going to get you anywhere. You're not breaking the habit. You're just replacing it. And that was a problem I ran into. So my weight loss stalled out. And so when I started experimenting in late 2020 with carnivore, I got some results immediately. Then my in-laws came to visit for Thanksgiving. And they came in from the West Coast. And so I was, took them to Oklahoma City to the memorial, took them all to the cool restaurants that my wife and I discovered over the years. And there was no more weight loss. I mean, I really wasn't any weight loss at all. And after they went back home after the holidays or after Thanksgiving, here we were approaching Christmas, and I had all this keto candy that I bought for because one of my in-laws was watching their weight, but they were on a completely different kind of diet. I just misread the situation. So now I had all this keto treats that I had in the house, and I barely lost any weight between Thanksgiving and New Year's. So I went straight carnivore. Well, I went carnivore. We'll call it relaxed carnivore because I was putting spices on my food still, and I was drinking black coffee. I cut the dairy out, but I was still drinking black coffee. That was really, in hindsight, a very strange choice, except for the fact that I love caffeine. I do. It's still got its hooks in me. But I have since in the last few weeks cut out the black coffee. I don't drink coffee or tea anymore. I get my caffeine now from the caffeinated mineral waters. My hope is in the next few weeks to wean myself away from them, knowing full well that when that happens, the headaches will come because I have before fasted from coffee for extended periods of time, and it's just small amounts of caffeine will keep the headaches away. But as soon as you take it away completely, there goes the caffeine headaches, or here they come anyway. But I cut out the dairy, I cut out the spices. Well, I cut the spices. I had the black coffee. I cut out the diet sodas and that kind of stuff. And even while consuming coffee and having more spices than I should trying to be carnivore, I lost 14 pounds the first month on carnivore. After being keto for more than a year, I lost 14 pounds. It was fantastic. After that initial sort of rough period where your body doesn't like what's going on, I noticed my strength gains at the gym are crazy. I regained the strength that I had lost on the bench press from my injury almost immediately. And now I can bench press more than I've ever been able to in my entire life in the last 3 months. Like they're crazy strength gains that I've had. It's awesome. I love it. um, but after that first month, I started, you know, reading, paying too close attention to what's going on in Carnival social media groups. And what did I find? I found people saying things like carnivore bodybuilding on Facebook, people drinking energy drinks. Well, I tried that sugar-free energy drinks. What happened? Weight stalled out. Weight loss stalled out. I just stopped. You know, and I have this theory, and I'd love to find out from one of the carnivore doctor influencers if a lot of them say, well, these artificial sweeteners don't spike your blood sugar, but I think they actually do because again, my weight loss stopped, just completely flat out stopped when I brought those in. So I immediately got rid of them within just a week and a half. It was like they were gone, and I didn't like the way they made me feel either. Um, and then a few weeks ago, I got rid of all the spices except for salt. I do a lot of meat smoking. You'll see that stuff on this channel. If you want to see how that works, to smoke your meats, it's great. There shouldn't be a problem for most people. Some people I've seen say they have histamine responses. I don't think that's the case. I actually think it's not from the wood. It might be from like cheap barbecue briquettes that you're using because barbecue briquettes have chemicals in them. Whereas like wood pellets for a wood pellet smoker are not going to, not no, or not in much amount anyway. And the reason I think that might be the case is because I was having a conversation with my next door neighbor. He's got this huge, awesome offset smoker. Like, you put chunk like firewood into the thing and you can smoke your meats that way. And he said he can't do typical charcoal barbecue because cheap briquettes just make him ill. It's probably the cheap briquettes that are the problem for most people, I think, who can't do barbecue. Um, don't go to barbecue restaurants usually, by the way. Almost all the rubs have sugar in them. Almost all of them do, except maybe the brisket, because classically brisket is just salt, pepper, and garlic. Classically. Now, a lot of places won't do that, though. Like, there's a big chain in my area that has barbecue, like brisket, and they put honey on everything. Found that out by accident when I was doing keto. But anyway, I cut out the spices a few weeks ago, and then and at the same time I cut out coffee and replaced it with either caffeinated water, which you can buy on Amazon, or mineral water with caffeine in it. And 1 can is 35 milligrams of caffeine. Well, and I'll have one of those before I go to the gym. That's not enough caffeine to give you a boost at the gym. I've been finding that out lately, but it's keeping the headaches at bay, and that's all I care about at this point. So that's how I got to carnivore. Now I'm strict carnivore. I eat mostly beef these days. Some pork, more than some other carnivores do, but I try to get my pork mostly as heritage breed pigs, and those are always fed better, and they have a better fatty acid profile, and so they're fine. Not that much pork though, but I do eat some of that. But it's mostly beef. I season my food with salt and drink mineral water. Put a couple raw egg yolks on meat sometimes, like did that today with a steak I had. But other than that, yeah, it's very straightforward. And I eat fish about once a week. Eat some salmon on Fridays. That's about it. Maybe some shellfish with it. But yeah, that's my carnivore story. I'm down a total of 133 pounds since December 26th, 2020. 33 of that since going carnivore. And I probably have another 20 odd pounds of body fat that I need to lose before I can get under 20% body fat. Like I said at the beginning, I'm in my early 40s. If I can get below 20% body fat, I'll be happy. I'm not trying to, look like Dr. Chafee or anything like that. That's why I'm not going to post bodybuilding pictures on here. And I'm going to have to deal with extra skin. It's another one of those things no one talks about, but I'd really like to know if any of you know about how to manage that, what sort of process you can use. I suspect it's going to be fasting and taking advantage of the autophagy process of your body sort of recycling things it's not using anymore to take care of that. But I definitely am going to be researching that and probably bringing you what I find here on this channel. So again, if you like what you've heard so far, if you find this interesting at all, click that like button, click that subscribe button, and share this video if you want to. I'm here to try to just give you some very basic practical tips on how to do carnivore. My PhD is in public policy, and so I'm going to like in the future bring you like food news so you can understand what's going on out there and how it impacts the carnivore community, right? I'm going to show you how to save money doing this. So, there are ways people say this is an expensive diet. It doesn't have to be. I mean, yeah, okay, ribeye steaks, right? Like, I love a good ribeye steak, but I don't think that's actually a practical thing for most people. And so I'm going to show you some other alternatives on how to get your ruminant meats without just trying to live off ribeye steaks all the time, because that is probably the most expensive way to do carnivore. So that's what I got coming. And I've got a fun unboxing video for a cut of ruminant red meat that's not the most practical, but it's fun. So I'll have that for you hopefully this weekend. So if you like what you heard here, click that like button, click subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, achieve your optimal life and make sure that you are, taking advantage of all the knowledge out there in this carnivore world and try to contribute to it any way you can. Anyway, thanks a lot.